This is to certify that Movie Chats has been classified for live streaming.
Hello!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us for another week on Movie Chats. Stevie, how was your week, sir?
Yeah, it's not been too bad. I've been off on 4 days holiday, so I'll have had 12 off by Saturday. So I'm just had a bit of a relaxing time. Little man's been a bit poorly, but got him back in school eventually. So happy with that. But yeah, other than that, not a lot really. Just been chilling out and popping about, picking some bits up. Yourself?
Yeah, I think I'm going to take my weight loss to the extreme and have them amputate my leg just above the kneecap.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. For those that don't know, I blew my knee out on Monday. I've been struggling to walk, and I'm waiting for an appointment. So we go away next week. We go away on Monday.
Ooh,
only to North Wales. But yeah, the musculoskeletal department wants to speak to me at 3:00 on Monday.
Whereabouts in North Wales are you going then?
Just to Botherwithing.
Where?
We're going Botherwithing. We're going back to
the place.
Yeah, we're going back to the castle that we go to. Do you know the OAP holiday castle?
Oh, right, okay.
So I'm going to fit in quite well there with me walker.
God, yes, you will.
So, yeah, I was explaining to Steve before, it could be a multiple of things, judging by the pain that I've got. So it'll be nice to... But as you know, Steve, I struggle with my knees anyway, being old being old and being obese and being the former physical prime athlete that I was back in the day. And,
I got
it's paying its toll now, I reckon. So, yeah. So, last week I was showing you my Weapon X, wasn't I? The Weapon X statue. And I said to you, I wanted another Wolverine statue to finish the shelf. So, James shared a picture today from Starbase 55. He shares his store every day so you can see what's new and what's coming, etc., etc. And he had this. Now, cool. This is a Wolverine money box. Now, I love the detail in this, and the fact it was only a tenner, right? So I saw this and a couple of other pieces. He messaged me separately about a couple of other pieces that he had. And I said to him, put them all to one side for me. So I took some stuff up, traded some stuff in, and got this and a couple of other bits. But yes, that is... If I just show you the camera down here now, look. That is the Wolverine.
So there is a Wolverine shelf now.
Yeah, the Wolverine shelf is done. So
you know what? Just to be funny about it, I picked up a T-shirt today for Wolverine Origins.
Ooh.
No, I think it's a large though, so it won't. It won't be your size, but
you cheeky bastard.
Well, just you're in between, Steve, aren't you?
I'm no longer big Steve, and I'm certainly not a medium Steve. No. Yeah. So yes. So let's say hello to the chat. So we've had Pat in. Evening, Pat. Thank you for joining us. The monkey who you're taking the knee to, playing Skyrim, Mari. No, I did play Skyrim, and I got. And this really annoyed me about Skyrim is that I played it every day for about 5 hours religiously for about 4 months. And then, do you know when you go into the options to check how much progress you've played in the game, and it says you're only 2% into the game?
5 minutes of it.
Yeah, you've only played about 2% of the game, but however, you're like the top level of everything, and you're great at doing all sorts. However, you've not actually played anything. You've just done 4 months worth of side missions. Yeah, yeah. Evening, Dave. Thank you for joining us, sir. If you need your leg removed, get a wooden one. So we can call it Smith. Yes. No, I do struggle with my knees quite badly, and unfortunately, I think me right ones just give up the ghost now. So it is
Well,
what
you've
it
been
is.
playing Gravity for years, so maybe it's time to
Well,
hang up those jumping boots.
if it's the ACL or MCL, then that's surgery. If it's the PCL, then I don't need to worry about it. I'm just taking painkillers until that goes out. But it could be me tendons as well. So I don't know what I've done, because when I walk, they do strum like a harp. Sometimes you can hear it go, and you can hear it go twang. I was like, right, okay, so that's not good. So
Bloody
yeah,
hell.
yeah, we'll see. It's getting old. When I get to your age, mate, shoot me.
Sod off! Sod off!
It did make me feel better, though, that I've also got to go for an eye test tomorrow as well. And Chris says he was starting to struggle with his eyes. So
Chris hasn't been able to read fucking the names on T-shirts for about 3 years.
so yeah,
You know
I
what
got a
he's
few.
like?
I got a few.
Show and tells.
Yeah, I got a few other bits and bobs as well today, which I did put the video out earlier on. So thank you to Minion for the extra gifts, my friend. They were well received. I have watched parts of the Iron Man cartoon today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he sent me the Invincible Iron Man cartoon on DVD.
Oh.
So I spent £4 on a Funko Pop and got loads of DVDs and a bottle of Prime.
Did you get The Greatest Showman?
No.
Oh, no.
For that.
Just
However,
quick,
he was very nice, and I did get a copy of Joker on Blu-ray. So,
oh, cool. It's the film, that.
yeah, it's nice of him. What's Gareth saying here? If you have the $6 million, you could get an arm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, I could be Steve Austin, the $6 million man.
$6 million man.
Yeah. Did someone mention the OSI? What's OSI?
I don't know. I got a few bit. I went a bit overboard on some figures the other day from our good friend Gary.
Would you like me to put you on big screen?
I think this is more emotional buys, really. I wanted to get. He did some vintage figures.
Oh, that's right. I was watching that video, that stream, and I got really, really annoyed because he was selling one figure every 40 minutes, and it was pissing me off.
Yeah, so I ended up. I got me Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Which realistically was what I wanted, and then I was like, you know what, I could do with a Captain Hook to go with it. So we got the Captain Hook, and then I was like, actually, I want Rufio, and I'm a bit thinking that it's not come with a sale bit, but obviously I knew that when I bought it.
Well, he did say that, didn't he? The skateboard.
Yeah, no, but we got a Rufio, and then we've got the
Rolo,
who is it now?
It's the fat kid. Is it Rolo or someone?
He rolls into a ball anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, to be honest with you, a lot of the stuff he did afterwards was like bundles. I was like, I wish he'd done a bloody bundle in the first place.
Well, he had about 4 versions of that Peter Pan, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So the reason why I said, and you know, I love Gary. You know, we buy bits and bobs off him all the time. The bit that was winding me up though was right. I've got these Transformers now, and I'm like, right, here we go. Let Transformers.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Let's spend loads of money, and then next thing you know, well, actually, someone's mentioned that they want to buy these Peter Pans, so we'll spend 40 minutes selling Peter Pans.
I still have to wait about 40 minutes for the Peter Pans to be run.
So then I drop off because I'm not interested in Peter Pan. And I come up and I see the last Transformers just been sold, and I'm like, great, no one tagged me back into the Transformers.
I did. I was tagging you left, right, and centre about the bloody Transformers. I stayed on that stream just for your Transformers.
And then Bucky, he had a whole set of Bucky O'Hare.
Oh,
so
I know.
I asked him, well,
I said I know.
yeah. So I asked him to sell Blinky, and then some jumped in, and I'm like, well, I'm not sweat, but I did buy Blinky.
I think.
Yeah, I did buy Blinky for about £5 less than what he paid for it on Vinted. So it's all right. It worked out.
I saw you stop bidding, so I was like, okay, so is it an amount you don't want to spend?
No. So it's like, you know what, that's fine. And then I put on the comments, git. But it is what it is, and that's the problem with Whatnot now. And I think fair play to Whatnot for what they've done. They've gone from slow drip feeding sellers onto it. Now all of a sudden everyone's being accepted on Whatnot.
Are they?
Yeah, but the thing for me though is, and like you say, don't get me wrong, I've done wonders out of it. I've got some great, very rare, expensive pops for pennies off Whatnot.
Yeah.
But now I have a look at the pop shows. There's 5 pop shows going on at the moment. That's what I was doing when you came on the stream.
Oh yeah.
And the amount of times that I'm seeing Finn from Star Wars going for £4, and that's every stream now. So I think we'll have the problem with eBay Live selling the same thing. People are going to sit there and put so much hype into the auction, but the item's not worth buying.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Good evening, Peter. Thank you for joining us. The Office of Scientific Intelligence. That's the agency that Steve Austin worked for, OSI.
Hey, Jeff.
All right, okay. I'll have to go back and watch the $6 Million Man, but that was before my time.
Yeah.
Evening, Jeff. So, apart from that, have you watched anything this week? Because I have got a question to ask you.
Of course, I'll be your breast man.
There you go. Yeah. Right. So I've been watching, and I finally got round to watching the last episode of Star Trek Enterprise today. I've seen it before. But I've been rewatching the series. Now, obviously, for those that have seen Enterprise, that Trip dies, right? In the last episode of Enterprise.
Just a fucking spoiler alert, walking spoiler alert, aren't you?
Oh, this is 20 years old, this series.
Okay.
So obviously there's certain sci-fi deaths that hit you quite hard. One is Trips, one is Dax from DS9.
Is it as emotional as Klopp leaving Liverpool? Because that's
this is the question I was going to ask. So you've got Trip dying in Enterprise, you've got Dax dying in DS9, you've got Carson dying in Star Trek, in Stargate Atlantis. That was quite hard because that came out of nowhere. And then obviously you've got a few other great sci-fi deaths throughout whatever.
Yeah.
But those three sort of tickle me heartstrings a little bit more than the others. So is there any movie deaths or TV series deaths that when you rewatch, Obi from Sons of Anarchy?
Oh, 100%. That gets me going, that one.
Yeah.
100%.
Is there any movie deaths or TV series deaths that you or the chat sort of love to hate or brings back memories for you now I've asked that question? Because like I say, Obi's the first watch through of Sons of Anarchy for me, and as you know, Steve, I never watched any of that when it was on the first time round, so I binge watched all the series one episode after the other, and Obi's hits you quite hard.
Oh, definitely does. It's like the sacrifice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus, I'll tell you what, that you've got me on that one, because there's been a couple. It's like there's one of the women in Orange Is the New Black. She gets suffocated by a guard, I think. Like he's knelt down on her. That's one of them because she was quite a big character in that. I forget what her name was now. I don't. Jesus. There's a couple. I don't know. I need to think about it. Fuck me. But yeah, the Obi-Wan definitely 100%. That gets me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no way is he doing that. Oh, Jesus.
So I asked a question last week. Did you watch?
I'd watched it. I'd
Film
fucking
what?
seen it. Of course I'd seen it. It was Michelle bloody Keegan in it.
Yeah.
I watched it the second that thing came out.
Kirk's Death and Generations was. See, that didn't hit me, hard, Kirk stuff, because they tried to pull a Spock, didn't they, in Wrath of Khan with that, where they kill him at the start and then they kill him at the end. You know, I think Spock's death at the end of Wrath of Khan was more impactful than Kirk's in Generations, in my opinion. She never cried when old Yeller died.
Old Yeller. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to know if the chat's got any, because I'm really struggling.
Did I steal your thunder with Obi?
You did really with that one, because that was probably one of the worst ones I had. Apart from Thingy in The Walking Dead, when Negan smashes him with the bloody
Glyn.
Yeah. That was like, what? But that was more of a shock than upset. I was genuinely upset about Obi.
Well, I think what made it worse for Glyn is that you had to wait, because they finished the episode smashing Abraham.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true.
They finished the episode smashing Abraham's head in, and then the next episode it was Glyn. So it was like you had to wait the whole week to figure out who was going to die, and you're like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peter says he stopped watching Walking Dead after that.
I don't know. I kept it going. I've still got the last couple of seasons to catch up on. Plus the spin-offs as well. I want to watch some of those. Oh my gosh.
So, Fool Me Once, right?
Yeah.
We can talk about it now. It's been out for a couple of weeks. People have probably watched it if they haven't already. Sorry about this. What was Shane's role in that whole program? Because he's the one that really confused me.
Oh yeah. The army mate.
Yeah, mate, the army copper, right? That really confused me what his whole role was, because he was sort of stalking her, and then he was tracking her, and then he was breaking into a house. I have no idea what his whole role was in that series. Don't get me wrong. The end of, I've never read the book or anything like that, but the end of that series sort of did throw me a little bit.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I was. Yeah, I struggled to not get into it. That's the wrong word. But I don't know. It seemed like the series just sort of plodded along.
Well, I said that to Lance. We've invested 4 hours of this series already, and then the next 2 episodes really didn't drive the story along. And then the last episode was like, "What?" I didn't.
I watched a little, I want to say spoof video or something, but it was a piss take basically, and they were going on about how many times she just left her kid with random people.
Yeah,
like. Can you just look after her for a bit? You just look after her for a bit. Just like everybody and his dog looked after that kid.
I don't even know where the kid was at the end.
Probably being looked after by somebody. But she I mean, that bloody house.
The kid stayed with the uncle, didn't she?
That
I'm gonna pass you
Oh,
off
yeah.
now to the legal
Yeah,
guardian, and then goes and gets herself shot.
But 1 minute that uncle doesn't want her anywhere near his kids, near himself, anything, and then by the end of it, he's got a kid.
Yeah, by the end of it, he's practically sleeping with her.
Yeah, yeah. Like
I've
in the
always loved you.
space of a couple of episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got me. It was so bizarre. It was so bizarre. I mean, Joanna Lumley was brilliant in it. Michelle Keegan is just.
I just
Awesome.
don't know what the whole storyline of the half brother was supposed to have been about. That just had nothing to do with why
No,
the mum was killed.
no, not at all.
I thought at some point the half brother killed the mum because she didn't want to see him or anything. But it turns out they were having a relationship or getting to know each other. A
Yeah,
relationship, not
like that.
sleeping with each other. And then all of a sudden, that storyline just fizzled out. And by the way, it was me. Woo! Wow.
That copper though, like, was he was he on the payroll?
What was he taking money for?
I've got no idea. Absolutely no idea. But then he was dying 1 minute. The next minute, it's actually nothing. They've got it's the pills he's taking. Why is everybody on these pills?
I don't know. I was just really confused. By the end of it, I was like, okay, I didn't expect the ending of that, but what happened to this, and this, and this? And Lana said, oh, yeah, I forgot about that, and that.
He did have, right. So she was in a massive house. Like, that was no council estate house. That was.
Now, was that Thingy's house from Brassic?
I don't know. I was umming and ahhing where I'd seen
Do you
it.
know what's his name? The gangster fella.
It reminded me of the bloody house in Parasite, to be honest.
Hmm.
Gorgeous, but it weren't like, it was a bit overkill. But I'm guessing the whole point was that a husband or a previous husband, whatever you want to call him, it was obviously bought by his family, wasn't it?
His family's mega rich, and
Yeah.
McCann, that's his name from Brassic. I think that was McCann's house that they used to film that series. Because the big house was Arley Hall this way, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So
that nanny cam was a bit shit as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, with it on the first try, she managed to spot what she thought was her husband.
That whole deep fake thing,
Yeah.
I have no idea what that storyline was over either. Oh yeah, we deep faked it. Why did you have to deep fake a dead husband? What were you trying to achieve? Because if you wanted a daughter, you could have just asked. You would have given him anyway.
Well, this is it. She would have lent it to. She would have lent a daughter to him at some point, wouldn't she? Could you just look? Yeah, I'll look after her. Yeah, no problem.
I don't know. I'm just really confused.
And
everyone was raving about it, and I'm like, am I the only one here that has got?
No, you weren't. You weren't. I mean, like I say, I'm going to watch it because Michelle Keegan's in it 100%. And to be honest with you, the cast was good.
Mm.
You know, I like the guy who plays the copper. Who was in Four Lions.
Yeah,
and then obviously you've got Joanna Lumley and stuff. So, but it was a weird program, whatever you want to call it, thriller.
Well, they're doing a series of the other two books now, aren't they? Because that author's got two other books, so they're doing his other two books. So I'm waiting to have my head mess with even more into Netflix series. That mess with my head more than watching one of the documentaries about the supernatural Cecil Hotel, where you watch 3 episodes or something, and you still know further along what happened at the Cecil Hotel. Anyway, right. So we've been mentioning the last couple of weeks about the WWE going to Netflix.
Yeah.
Have you been keeping up with the news from WWE?
Do you mean the lawsuit?
The lawsuit, yes.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of the text messages? from.
No, I haven't read it. I haven't seen any of it.
I don't know. That reads like one of these Netflix documentaries. You don't know what.
Do you think there's a McMahon documentary coming out?
Yeah, you don't know what side of this that you really want to be on, or who you really want to believe, or how this is believed to have gone down.
So, as well as taking over the actual streaming services for the WWE, there's going to be a Netflix documentary special.
Yeah,
You've heard it here first.
Vince McMahon didn't pay me enough, so I've tattletaled. You know, that's. I don't know. I don't.
Making a predator.
Yeah, you know me. I don't like to make assumptions. We never made assumptions through the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing either when we were covering that for that couple of weeks. But the whole Vince thing, when you read the text messages and you're like, it's not sexual trafficking, it's not human trafficking. You were getting paid for what you were doing. You just didn't get paid enough by the sounds of it.
Yeah, so what I mean, the thing is that these people, I don't know, it's dodgy, isn't it? It's a dodgy subject, but let's put it this way. Somebody pays you $3 million and you sign an NDA, and then a few years later you put a lawsuit in.
Few years later, Vince sells Titan Sports to TKO.
Yeah.
For billions of dollars, then all of a sudden you sue him. And then that case gets thrown out of a criminal court, and then all of a sudden it's now a civil lawsuit where she's going to be worth millions if this goes through. I don't know.
It's a bit skeptical, isn't it? We'll see what happens.
I would say go and read the text messages. If you just search her name in Google and then hit images, the text messages come up. They're not hidden.
Really?
Yeah. But it's her response. Don't get me wrong. What he says to her is sickening. But her responses are quite sort of like, oh, okay, give me a week and I'll be fully healed after the last time. You're like, right, okay. So God knows what happened the last time.
Yeah, true.
Anyway, so WWE have got themselves into some hot water. And it looks like it could actually affect the Netflix deal, because what you're saying there is I don't think Netflix wants to be aligned with something like that while that suit's going on.
No, I think that's the reason why he's been taken out, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of a better phrase, he's stepped down or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the reason why, really.
Peter's asked the question of before we get cancelled from YouTube for talking legalities. Let's move back onto movies now, shall we? Peter's asked the question: what's your favourite Planet of the Apes film? Are you talking the rebooted films or the original 10? Was it 10 films on the original?
No, well, you've got the originals, haven't you? I mean, for me, the first one is the best. The Charlton Heston one, by far, is the best. I was actually watching. I think it's Joe Blow. I know that sounds dodgy, but the guy on YouTube last night actually saying what the happened to Planet of the Apes, and it goes through like from the first one onwards. It's quite strange that you've asked me that. But I've got them all. I like them all. I've got the new trilogy on 4K. I've got the originals. I've got the thingy one,
the Peter Jackson one. Yeah.
Matt Wahlberg in, and then I've got the TV series as well, which is up there.
Do you know which one that I really do enjoy is the one that you just shown there, the Mark Wahlberg Peter Jackson one. I think Tim Roth is absolutely brilliant in that film. But I do like the latest trilogy, the Rise, War, and what's the other one called? Rise.
Rise, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. And I think War is quite a underrated movie. You know, I don't think people give that credit for where it's due.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know if that's just because of Andy
Tim
Serkis
Burton. There we go.
being
It's not Peter Jackson. It's Tim Burton.
Tim Burton. Sorry, not Peter Jackson. Yeah, I don't know if it's again Andy Serkis as Caesar. Brilliant character actor. You know,
They were saying last night in that thing I was watching, it was saying that when they were putting like the prosthetics on and everything for the first movie and subsequent movies after that, I think they had to keep moving the face because they couldn't leave it for too long before, otherwise it'd just crack and
yeah.
But in the same breath, they couldn't bloody eat with it on. So, and then Charlton Heston, he was he ended up with like the flu or something during filming. And rather than take any time off, the director said to him, you're supposed to be in sort of a rundown state anyway. So if you play in the movie as you know poorly, then it'll give it more of an authentic feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
So he ended up being poorly during some of the shoot.
Yeah. No, I think you're right there, Peter. I'm getting confused with Peter Jackson's King Kong. Yeah. But but like I say, Andy Serkis is brilliant as Caesar. Dave's put there, I can't believe we didn't get a sequel to the Tim Burton one after the cliffhanger. That was brilliant, having Abe Lincoln sitting on the throne.
Yeah.
With Mark Wahlberg just going, why?
Was it a flop though at the time?
Yeah.
That's probably why we didn't get a sequel, wasn't it?
But I think it was more to do with the fact, and again, I think this falls into the categories of what other movies were out at the same time. Is that, you know, we've had quite a few summer blockbusters that have gone down the pan because of other stuff that's been out at the same time.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so I don't think your question would have been if you had something like Maverick, which is one of the bigger films of last year, out at the same time that we had Barbie and Oppenheimer, would it have done so well, or would Barbie have done so well? And I think that's where Planet of the Apes sort of fell into that arena.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely tell it's a Tim Burton movie. It's got Tim Burton written all over it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But it's just ironic that I was sat there watching a YouTube video for about 20 minutes about the Planet of the Apes last night, and that you've asked the question today. I don't. Do you see one of the things that was with the Planet of the Apes, the TV series? It ran for about 14 episodes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That was deemed a flop, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was very much a continuation of the movies. It's just the only difference is that obviously with the first movie, it was a relatively decent budget, and then after all the subsequent sequels after that were just less and less and less budget, to the point where it was a TV show. But I actually thought it weren't too bad, to be honest. I've watched it a couple of years back. I quite enjoyed it.
Peter's saying here, in the original Apes films, the cats and dogs died through the same virus. But in the TV series, the first episode had a dog in it.
Oh, shit. Yeah. But they were saying it was funny because during the filming, like the apes would hang around with the apes, and the actual set ended up being quite segregated with like the I want to say apes and the chimps or whatever it is, and
the gorillas and stuff.
Yeah, the gorillas. That's it. And they used to just hang. They didn't have a clue who they were talking to, really, most of them, because they were all in makeup. But the makeup would take about 6 hours per person to do. And then by the end of it, it got it down to about 3 hours each person. Can you imagine how much went into that?
Well, we've had several TV series over the past that have only had one series in it because of special effects. Terra Nova was one that I really enjoyed, and you know that's where he went back in time to prehistoric Earth because the Earth of modern day was dying, etc. And he found like a time sort of portal that went back. and that left us on a cliffhanger. But the budget was something like $1 million an episode or something, and at the time it was just too expensive for them to carry it through. We were at risk of losing like Red Dwarf and stuff like that for the first like season, 2 seasons, because it was just costing too much to keep the sets going and stuff. And which is quite funny now because of the shit CGI. Every time we do another Red Dwarf series at the moment, the CGI's been awful. Yeah, also in the movies, the humans were mute. Yeah, I think that was more to do with the evolution of the Earth after the apes took over, weren't they? There was no one teaching them to talk or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we go back to Netflix now. Have you watched the new He-Man yet? Is it Revulsion?
Is that the one that AJ was on about?
The new one that's just been out this week.
No,
it's supposed to be the second part to Revelation or whatever. The last year's one. Do you know? I'm sat there and I've watched it today, and do you know when it says, "Are you still watching this?" and it pops up, and you're on episode 5, and I'm like, "Shit, what have I been watching for the last 2.5 hours? I can't remember what's gone on here."
Really? Well, is it the first series, or the first one that the people lost their minds at because he gets killed within the first 5 minutes?
Yeah, and then they bring him back and then kill him off again, and then bring him back at the end to fight Skeletor, and then he had all the woke characters, didn't he? They had the lesbian hero and stuff like that, who now ends up being the sorceress and his love interest in this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've tried to correct it a little bit in this one, but I sort of watched that, and I have no idea what I'm watching here, guys.
I'll tell you what I tried the other day. I tried sitting down and watching that Echo. I got through the first episode and a half. I don't know if I can stomach it. It is so bad. It's a character that I mean, I'm sure she's a great actress, but you just can't relate to her at all.
No.
It's so weird. It's so weird. I was just like, I don't know if I can get through the whole series. I've ended up watching somebody's review video just to sort of get an idea of what the bloody hell's going on.
It's a character for me we didn't need a season about.
Nice one, Jeff.
Yeah. It's a character for me that we didn't need a TV series about. She wasn't a big part in Hawkeye, I don't think. I know Hawkeye killed a brother or something like that, so she was sort of with the Kingpin over that. But
yeah,
that to me, there was no need for her to have a TV series on the back of that.
Yeah. It's just, like I say, for me, I sat there and I thought, you know what? I'll try and watch it, and I put it on, and I got to about the first episode seemed to last like an hour and a half, and then I put the second one on. I was like, no, I can't be bothered with this. And then I ended up watching Doctor Strange again in the Multiverse of Madness. Hey, buddy. I ended up watching that again. I quite enjoy that movie.
I thought that was pretty good too, and I wanted to see it so badly. I even went out when I had COVID, but I made sure I wasn't contagious, but I sounded as bad as Doctor Strange did towards the end.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm a big fan of Doctor Strange, but I don't dislike the movie. I quite enjoy it.
Do you remember our discussion last time, how I said I was getting so sick of Marvel and DC films?
Yeah.
Can I show you my favorite superhero film?
Yeah, of course you can. Go on.
Oh, Inspector Gadget.
Mhm. When you think about it, this was before we had the Avengers, and that town actually exists in a state. It's a real town, and it's actually so at this point in time, they were the only town that had a superhero, because once you say a superhero is a normal person that is given superhuman abilities to do good.
True.
And in this one, unlike the first one, he is able to consume food and drink, because we see him try to drink a Pepsi, and yeah, and so it's interesting that not only did they do that, but they changed the doctor. They changed the entire backstory of how he was made, because instead of the girl scientist or inventor, the father is still alive, but it's a different guy playing the father. So in that universe, he, the scientist, works for the police, and because at the end you see the inventor leaving, and he says Night Gadget. So it's like you could tell he was, But the interesting thing about this is one of 3 films that stars the guy from. You've seen the Matrix films, the guy that has all the watches on.
Oh yeah.
He was in this one. He was in Aquamarine, and he was in another film. I can't think of it, but I have it, and I consider it so weird that it's like we don't see him in a lot of stuff, but he's only been in like 3 or 4 films. But when we see him on screen, we instantly know who he is.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what the evil version of this is?
Go on.
I just got it, but I haven't opened it yet. But it is the what is it? Hellraiser 3.
Okay, one sec. Yeah, one sec.
Hellraiser 3 is the evil version of Inspector Gadget 2.
Yes, because he is on Earth. Pinhead is on Earth, and he's making the creatures from parts on Earth. So you got one.
That makes sense.
So you got one Cenobite that's made out of the video. What's that video recorder thing that the news people used?
Video recorders.
Yeah, one is made out of that. The other is made out of he uses CDs that Pinhead puts into his skull, and it's one, because remember, it's called the official title is Hellraiser 3 Hell on Earth.
Yeah.
So so now I own both, and the good version and the bad version. And so when you think about it, I not only own the superhero before Avengers, but now I own the evil Ultron version before Marvel also.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a stretch, but that's what happens when
it's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, but you have to when Marvel burns us out so much, right?
Tell you what, I picked up today. I picked up. I've only got the DVDs for now, but I got the Psycho 1, 2, 3, and 4 box set because I want to see if the second, third, and fourth are any good. Because obviously I'm a big Alfred Hitchcock fan, so I've watched Psycho many times, but I've never seen the other ones.
Do you want?
There's an Arrow box set that's quite expensive. So I'm going to see if they're any good first.
I just want to explore something Monkey's just said there, and I want to throw a question out to you. So if Hellraiser 3 was making the gadgets for Inspector Gadget, what other horror movies would you like to see tied into kids programs very subtly like that, and how would you do it?
Oh, easy. Showgirls. you take one that wants more money, and we all know they're whacked off a lot, so you just bring them back to life, and you just, instead of money, you plug her in when she's done.
You had to ask, didn't you?
See, here's me thinking something like Event Horizon mixed with space, Lost in Space, or something like that, or the Jetsons. You know, you could do that, couldn't you? You know,
I'm not saying
Jetson goes on holiday and gets corrupted by the warp from Event Horizon.
Well, I can do you one better. Their daughter could go off on like a camp, but their spaceship gets kind of pulled in by the beam, and then she comes out, wanting to infect everybody, like in the end of the cave. But I wasn't saying that Inspector Gadget does the gadgets of
Hellraiser does the gadgets for it, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying now I have a film where they make humans into those.
Yeah.
Because I'm definitely not going to count Virus as it.
No, I quite enjoyed Virus.
Yes, me too. But I'm saying I wouldn't classify it as a villain that can wreak havoc on the world, whereas Inspector Gadget helps the city. So if you notice, they moved the entire Fort Knox to the city where Gadget protects, because only that city is where Gadget protects. So it's like where the Avengers go wherever, Gadget stays in that city. So if they have anything they want protected, they move it there. Are
you saying Gadget's more like the DC type of heroes, where Batman's got Gotham, Superman's got Metropolis, Arrow's got Central City, and Flash is Bay City or something, wasn't he? So are you saying Inspector Gadget's more like that than compared to the Avengers that travel all over the country and all over the world to go and do bits and bobs?
As far as Inspector Gadget 2, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm about to blow your mind.
Strap in.
Well, don't blow me mind. I've already blown me knee this week.
Don't worry, I won't blow your mind. I'll wait till later to blow something else. But what I was going to say was they are remaking Inspector Gadget.
Are they, with Matthew Broderick?
They're not saying the cast yet, but they're working on it. So it'll be a surprise for all of us, but I think it's probably more than likely going to be woke, or at least different than the originals. That's for sure. But they're keeping a tight lip on it, but it's in production. So yeah, but
I don't know. I think the studios are sort of pulling away from that sort of woke, sort of tick box exercise that they were doing. Obviously, if they can get the characters right, it doesn't bother me if you've got girls married to girls or boys married to boys or whatever.
I'm not saying I'm against it. You were asking if it had Matthew Broderick in it, and so I was just stating that
Matthew Broderick movies in the past have been typically a bit camp anyway. If you're going down like your Ferris Bueller's, your War Games, your Godzillas, they are very sort of camp in the way that the
100%.
comic book sort of era movies.
But then you got War Games. That was pretty serious.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as Psycho, I can tell you one that I want done by Scream Factory. American Psycho 2. I want a 4K of that.
I love the first one. So, we're talking about, obviously, the studios stepping back, and obviously one of the biggest sort of drivers for this at the minute is obviously Disney. I was just looking then, and Snow White is now pushed back to 2025.
Well, Snow White's being redone, isn't it? They've canned what they've binned what they've already got in the can. They've recast her. They've binned the
Have they recast
people. Yeah, they've binned the little people. They're now going back CGI little people.
Yeah.
So they're giving us a live action version of the cartoon movie, right? Which is what people have wanted since they've heard about that. Now, when I say that the rolling back on the wokeness, by all means, there's still going to be the DIE sort of diversity and inclusive sort of stuff that they've got to do, but it's not going to be it's not going to be the driving force of the film, or the series. It's going to be, if it pushes the character forward that she's a lesbian or whatever, then by all means. And I've said this time and time again, I've not got an issue with that if it's part of the character and it drives the character forward. Yeah, I've just had that on the screen there, Steve. That's what I was laughing at. So if it drives the character forward, then I haven't got a problem with that, and if it's part of the character's makeup.
I think the point is that she came out and absolutely obliterated what was the original story.
Yeah.
And said categorically, this woman isn't waiting for a Prince Charming to come and save her, all this sort of stuff. And it's like you've literally just shit on a story that's been going since like 1936.
But if you think about it, we got that with Tangled. Rapunzel went off to save what's his face in Tangled. She wasn't the princess that needed rescuing from the tower. Rapunzel let down your hair. So we've already had that sort of twist on stuff like that, but it was done in a comical way.
And then you had Enchanted, where she ends up saving her prince.
Yeah. So it's not like they've done it, but they've done it in the way where it's sort of driven by her character, hasn't it? And stuff like that, and it's been done in the correct way. Didn't we already get Kristen Stewart as the?
No, that's Kristen Stewart was
the Huntsman and whatever, wasn't it? The Huntsman and the Witch or whatever it was called.
Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. No, but the thing is that they're gonna. It's just I don't know. I'm glad they're not bringing it out now because I think there's that much backlash. It would have absolutely flopped anyway. Just purely by the arrogance of this woman that's done it. But if they're going to cash in on these live actions of movies we've already seen, and originally were shot for shot, then at least try and stay thinking to the narrative. Try and stay true to the narrative.
Well, they basically even did that in the remake of The Omen, right?
Well, I don't think that was a problem.
Yeah, I think The Omen was slightly different, wasn't it? Because they did have to try and bring that into sort of like modern day, type of thing. Because religion and all that lot and people's beliefs have moved on from where where it was, and I could sort of understand that. The bit where you've got two demons in the new Exorcist, for example, and you can't have the main character being one without having the other, and that's just solely box ticking, isn't it? And and if you look at all the stuff that happened about Black Panther, about it being like the first time we've had a coloured superhero movie where the leaders, it's been Blade was there a decade or so beforehand, and stuff like that. So but they're moving away from all of that now, I think, and this is where I think the likes of Marvel, Disney, Paramount need to get back to where the script and the story is more important than who they're trying to portray in the programs. What type of people they're trying to portray.
I know. Just to sort of get off this subject a little bit, we've been talking a little bit recently about streaming services, and there seems to be more and more videos coming out now of why all this hype about physical media dying, and all the all these people that are just gonna get rid of the collections. It's getting how do I explain it? The streaming services are failing massively. And there is more and more people keeping hold of collections and collecting things, and I think this might be something that spurs on these companies to put more media out now.
I don't think physical media has died. I think the avenues of collecting physical media have got smaller.
Yeah.
Like I say, I was in Asda the other day, and very little Blu-ray, but lots more DVD. So they've obviously gone back down to DVD level because it's cheaper to buy that in bulk than it is the Blu-ray.
Yeah,
so I think that's coming in. I think, if anything, it's going to drive these £80 collector's box sets for any new movie that you want coming out.
Yeah.
On Blu-ray, they're going to have to make it worth the while, but then you'll be all right because you'll get a knockoff business card out of it for £80.
Bad off you.
But then, where does that leave General Joe public who just wants to buy a copy of the film?
Yeah.
So I don't think collecting and distributing physical media is dead. I just think it's going to be a bit more of a niche market for all these studios.
You see, I was watching something. They were going on about, obviously, the with the economy now, these streaming services are going to have to put the prices up. So they're gonna put the prices up, and people are there's going to be more and more people that are deciding that they don't really want them.
Look what happened when Russia invaded Ukraine, right? Netflix pulled out of Russia and lost a million subscribers, right?
Yeah.
At £6 a month or £5 a month.
Yeah.
What was the response to that? Put Netflix up £2 a month for the rest of Europe.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But we just covered the losses for pulling out.
Their shortfall.
Yeah, of them pulling out of Russia and whatever else. So did they pull out of Australia or wherever it was? So what happens? They say, right, okay, we're now bringing in the same household IP address checker, so you can't share your account with other people. So they've now got to go and get an account. So that's just one streaming service. But how many did we get up to the other day? 4, 5 when we were talking. Netflix, Amazon, Paramount Plus,
Disney.
HBO Max, Disney. So there's 5 just quickly, and they're all £6-7 a month.
Yeah, plus. See, the thing is
I'll wait if you want, but I have an idea for a box set that they could do that would really be worth your while.
Go on, man. What have we got?
It flew out of my head. That summer camp series about it's a horror film series.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Well, this is the thing: is that for me, we've said this so many times now. You know, they need to start bringing out these things on physical media after a year or two on these streaming sites, because they're bringing out more and more new content. But like, what I was looking at today, I was on Netflix today, and I was having a look around, and I noticed it said, like it comes up with like Last Chance or Leaving Soon, something like that, and like one of them was like The Last Night in Soho or something. I was like, I quite enjoy that movie. I mean, I've got it here, but there it is. That one, The Last Night in Soho. But I was thinking, if when that goes, which he obviously is, where would I watch that otherwise? Like, apart from having a physical copy of it, and it's even worse when they are Netflix originals and stuff like that. If they take on all this stuff from WWE and everything, there's going to be a certain element of they're going to need to clear stuff off.
So,
but when they start clearing off things that are originals, there's nowhere to watch that then.
So Sean's put 2 comments in here, and I think this goes back to a couple of weeks when I wasn't on the stream. Thanks for jumping in there, Monkey, as well, to keep Steve company. You mentioned, would you rush out to buy Stranger Things at the end of this series when we're going to get a big box set? And that's probably going to happen. We'll probably get a big box set of the 5-6 Stranger Things series. It's going to cost us 140 quid, and it's going to be beautiful, right? Sean's put there in the comments here, same thing happened in the 80s with cable in the States. I remember that because we are NTL and B Sky B and things here.
Cable and wireless.
Yeah. With lots of different channels that you had to subscribe. In the end, they combined all the packages that companies could sell. Yeah, I remember that. Now, the comment I've highlighted here sort of goes down the route, why Daredevil keeps getting rewritten and things like that are getting delayed and everything else. Controversial theory alert. Do you think The Boys and The Umbrella Academy killed the last generation of superhero movies, being better prodigy and more recent originals?
That's a parody.
Yeah, I think the Umbrella Academy humor in that and The Boys humor in that did the same for movies that Deadpool did when Deadpool 1 came out.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was more a case of we didn't know we needed it until we saw
Until
it.
we
It was
got
like,
it. Yeah. So when we were getting stale with like For Dark, what was it,
Dark
Dark
World
World,
or whatever it was, yeah.
Dark World or whatever it was called. Then we got like Deadpool, and then all of a sudden Guardians got rewritten a little bit, didn't they? Or whichever way around it was,
Suicide Squad got
it
rewritten as
became
well.
a little bit more comical. And then
Yeah.
obviously we've gone too far with Love and Thunder, where you just can't watch that now because there's too many shit one-liners that you can't watch Love and Thunder. And I think you're right. I think, you know, I love the Umbrella Academy. Atlanta calls it the Umbrella Diaries. She's, you know, and it just makes me giggle. The whole thing just makes me laugh. The whole idea behind it, and the boys, that not all superheroes wear capes. Not all superheroes are heroes.
No. Yeah.
And I think that sort of plays into that quite well. What's your thoughts on that, boys?
Well, I completely agree, but what I think really hurt was, like, you know how in The Mandalorian they kind of kept the same feeling and same tone in season 1 and season 2.
Yeah.
But in the Umbrella Academy, season 1 had a really good tone and story, and it even got a little dark towards the end. But when season 2 came out, it really felt different.
Yeah.
And then season 3 came out, and it felt different again. And in my opinion, what?
I said this to Steve. It just felt weird. It felt different.
But
Yeah.
I think that was the law to it, though. I think that was the law to the series, because in every series there was something different about them. They were in a different timeline, or they were in a different universe, or they were in the and they were and I think people forget that 3 series of the Umbrella Academy happens over a week. It's not something that happens 12 months later after each other. It's the knock-on effect throughout the week. So that's happened with 7 days for them. So
Yeah,
I think them jumping from a different timeline and a different universe when they meet like the Sparrows or whoever it was, not the Umbrellas. That's why it all felt different, because it was. I'm thinking it was to draw you into the fact that they're feeling strange and they're feeling different. It's not the same as what you've watched last season.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
I think I'm just trying to figure out. I think season 2 was just dragged on, if I remember right. I think season 2 was like the worst one. I'm not sure.
Well, actually, I preferred it. Season 2, it was so different. It felt like its own story, and I loved that they wrapped up the they, like, you know how it left on a cliffhanger, but in the time that they left, it felt like from the time they got there to the time they left, it really felt like they wrapped up everything to where that other timeline.
Every season was wrapped up. It was,
yeah.
We've got a point A, a point B, and a point C, and point C was the end, and then you got your cliffhanger. So at the end of the first season, you got the big black hole. At the end of the second,
no, you're mistaken. We don't know what happened on that subway car. She has the abilities. She's going to the concert. The kid gives her a look, and then we cut to the concert hall. But there she is with completely evil, and we don't see what happened on the subway car. I mean, we saw she was upset because she looked away, but someone that evil that kills a monkey just because he was around and did nothing. A kid in a subway car looks at her and is doing nothing. You're saying me she's not going to do something evil?
I don't know. I like I say, I was quite happy with the way that they've left it. And if we don't get another series, I'm more than happy. I don't think everything's got to be left on a cliffhanger and we know we're going to get something back. If they've tied up 99% of it, which they did do seasons 1 and 2, leave me on that sort of cliffhanger and give me something to think about. And I think that's where Doom Patrol went wrong. Because Doom Patrol was frustrating me because they never went back to... They leave like threads, but never went back to those threads.
Mm-hmm.
And then they might have like a one-liner, 8-9 episodes in another season where it refers back to the thread, and you're like, right, okay. Are we going to go back to that again? No, we're not. We're just moving on again now. And that's where Doom Patrol fell for me.
As far as the release of Stranger Things, do you want them to do a box set like Twilight, where it's one still case, but then where there's borders with each still book being a season, or do you want them to do like what they did with like the other series? What kind
You'll get both. You'll get both. You'll get seasons one to whatever in separate steel books that have got really cool artwork on that relate to each series, and then you'll get one big collector's box, which is like what they did with what was it I was looking at, like the Dragon Ball Z stuff, where you're saying you've got them all in separate lovely little containers, and it's all
like the metal steelbook.
It's a concealed set, yeah.
Well, I think if they really want to make it worth if they really want to make it worth it, they should include the soundtracks as well.
Yeah.
To be fair, obviously, he's going to be a winner with the soundtracks anyway.
Yeah, but what are you going to put the soundtrack for season 4 apart from Kate Bush running up that hill?
Just put that on repeat.
Just 18 times, you know. The Gods of Science Fiction here has put even a buddy. Thank you for joining us. He really enjoyed. Yeah, I love Doom. I love Doom Patrol, and I loved how Doom Patrol sort of fed into Titans a little bit as well. But the bit that got me with that is that it's supposed to be its own show, and like you say, the reusing it is like a feeder for other stuff. But then they never went back to actually sort of finish off any of their own stuff that was going on. And that's probably why it got cancelled, because it was sort of hard to sort of find out what was going on. Love Titans, yeah. Have I seen the latest series now? I think I'm episode 2 of the latest season, so I need to catch up with that. But the one about Jason and the Red Hood, that was absolutely brilliant. That second series, how he turned in bad.
These series, you know, I mean, obviously, you were there when I bought most of them. Like, do you think like they run a risk with these programs of like? Usually the way that they'll pan it out is your first series or so will spend time explaining every sodding character. And then after that, it'll go into whatever story they were going to tell. But with the way that like Netflix and all those sort of companies are quite fickle, do you think they run a risk of not being able to tell the story at all if they spend too long explaining the characters?
I think the problem that we've had with the likes of Disney with Echo and Disney with Ms. Marvel, they never took enough time to explain the character.
I completely agree. It was like they would introduce us a bit, then be like, here's other characters. Then they give us a little bit more of the main character, then let's focus on this character and this character.
Yeah, so Titans was great. That first season of Titans, because you had a Dick Grayson episode, you had a Starfire episode, you then got Ravens episode, you got a Beast Boy episode, but you were already introduced to Beast Boy because he was in Doom Patrol. So he was in the first like 3 or 4 episodes of Doom Patrol and then moved over to Titans. So you've already know who he was. He was the link between the two. So,
but my point is,
where you've got the CW, so and yes, science fiction's is on the same lines as me. Where you've got the CW series, that the Arrows, the Flash, the DC Legends of Tomorrow, and then you got those crossover episodes where you had to watch the 6 series to figure out what was going on in the last episode of the joint one. You didn't really have that with these. The sort of like the characters were flirting in and out of each of the series, but they were only be in it 1 or 2 episodes, and then don't leave loose ends.
What I'm saying
Speaking of the CW, I just want to give a little shout out. I am so happy that we never got a complete season of that Powerpuff Girls show. They stopped it and they didn't release it, so I'm very happy CW listened to their fans of other network and did not give us a show we were so adamant that we did not need. So I applaud CW for that.
The show that killed the Netflix verse for me was Iron Fist.
Oh God!
Iron Fist killed the Netflix verse for me, because that series was awful, and then the Defenders that they brought out killed Daredevil for me. Having Daredevil in the Defenders killed it completely, and that all started with Iron Fist. Jessica Jones was going fine. The Punisher was going fine. Daredevil was going fine. Luke Cage was bearable, but Iron Fist and the Defenders was just ruined it.
I hated the Inhumans.
I enjoyed Inhumans. I thought you were talking the other week about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when I put that in the chat, and you said you didn't. Where they were taking the pathogen and they were all getting the special powers, etc., etc., and that falls back into the Inhumans, because that's where they got all their powers from. So they were linking the Marvel shows together, and it in a way where it made sense, where Quake got her powers from and where Quake's mum got her powers from. So that all sort of falls into play. But don't forget, the Inhumans was meant to be a film. It was meant to be what we got with the Eternals, but they decided they were going to do it as a TV series instead.
If I may say something, speaking of the Inhumans, remember, Miss Marvel, the original storyline, had her interacting with the Inhumans pretty early on in her storyline. So I think it was really interesting that they kind of pushed out the Inhumans from the original storyline, because the like they could have went that route, having her introduce the Inhumans, but instead they are having her introduce the X-Men.
Yeah.
But if you read the comics, Miss Marvel really was in with the Inhumans a lot more early. I mean, she ran into Chopjaw like pretty early in her initial run. So I think it's interesting that Marvel chose to, instead of have her introduce the Inhumans like they did in the comics, for it to help for Marvel to have her help introduce the X-Men instead.
I think the reason why they never done the Inhumans was because of the TV show, and like you say, unfortunately for the TV show, it wasn't well received, but I really enjoyed it. I thought the TV show was brilliant. If we got it as a movie, I don't think it would have worked, because you would have to set up 2 or 3 films on the back of of the Inhumans to sort of get the storyline we got in the series.
We did get a movie. Remember the guy, the one that cannot speak? He was in your Multiverse of Madness. Remember?
Deadbolt was in that. Yes, I totally agree. But we never got an Inhumans movie. We got Deadbolt cameoing in a Marvel film, which is going.
Yeah.
Which is probably there to sort of tie in the fact that, don't forget, guys, we have got this series, and if you like Deadbolt, who's going to whisper to try and kill Scarlet Witch, oh, and by the way, we've now told you that's what he's going to do, so we're going to block off his voice, and he's going to blow himself up. What a fucking stupid move that was to kill Deadbolt, but Black Bolt. But it was, again, it was an unnecessary cameo for me, that, to have him in there, unless you're going to try and revitalize the Inhumans. You know.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. only released 3 Steel books. I have to say, I loved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think they did really, really well with the first couple of episodes, the first couple of seasons. And then when they tried to break away from the Marvel Universe, because they had to break away from the Marvel Universe, it sort of lost its way a little bit with that whole series of time travel and then jumping the bus through different time periods. But I loved how it finished, where they all went to work for SWORD. You know, they all got brought back into mainstream Marvel, and it'll be nice to see Quake and people like that in a Marvel film. And I think we've missed the opportunity to introduce them in this phase. They need to be reintroduced, like say Fitz and Simmons, and Quake, and a few of the others. There would be perfect. If even bring back Coulson would be brilliant back in mainstream Marvel.
Yeah,
because him and May just disappeared, didn't he? He went to live their lives, and I think he died, didn't he, at the end of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah, but he could come back from Tahiti. It's a magical place.
But yeah, because he was in a human body, in a robot body, wasn't he? I think that died or was dying at the end of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I think they, put him out of his misery. It'll be great to see them back in mainstream Marvel again. Give us another S.H.I.E.L.D. series, or Sword, as it will be called now.
Since they gave us that one Nick Fury show, they could introduce Coulson back and just say, "Oh, he was different because he was a Skrull." But here's the real Coulson back.
Well, the real Coulson was killed by Loki.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So the whole reason why he came back from Tahiti was the fact that he brought him back from the dead. So yeah, Coulson. Yeah, he did become an LMD, but I think his battery was dying or something at the end of the last series. There was something between that and May, because I remember May holding Coulson's body at the end, and I can't quite remember why. I think she pulled the plug on him.
Can I ask for an update on something?
Yeah.
Weren't we supposed to get an Agatha Harkness series?
Yeah, that's true.
We were supposed to get it, but I don't think we are going to get it, because we're not getting a season 2 of WandaVision, are we? So Agatha was supposed to play in between WandaVision Series 1, then we're supposed to get Agatha, and then we're going to get Wanda 2, but then
19th of September 2024 it's released.
Is that what we're getting it? Because I read somewhere we weren't going to get it because they killed Wanda off in Multiverse.
No, I get the Dark Hood Diaries. It's going to be called. To be fair, I don't mind that, because I like the actress that plays her anyway. I think she's funny. But Yeah, I mean, I like the way they've done this. They did the story with WandaVision. I said to you at the time, you know, it was real. The first few episodes was really weird because you're like, "What am I watching here?" It's like Bewitched, and then as it sort of changed and changed and changed and evolved. I think we've had this conversation where we talked about how the Winter Soldier one was more like a really drawn out long movie.
That could have just been a 3-hour film. That
But I
series.
think the big difference was WandaVision was a completely different thing that Marvel had done. They hadn't done anything like that at that point, I don't think. I'm still waiting for it to come out on bloody 4K.
Me too.
We're still waiting for the effects of Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier to hit.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, that's true, yeah.
You know, because everyone was becoming super soldiers with the serum and everything else, and all of a sudden, that's gone really, really quiet.
I completely forgot about that thingy guy though. You know the what's he called?
The other Captain America.
Yeah, that's not. What's he called?
I think it was the Patriot or something.
Yeah, that's it. I saw a clip the other day of it, and I was like, I completely forgot about that character.
Would you want a standalone film showing the story, like, you know how we got the first Avenger? What if they do a film from the perspective of that evil organization that made those super soldiers that were killed in that Winter Soldier? I mean, we got a little bit, but wouldn't you want a standalone film showing those years?
Do you mean the Hydra super soldiers?
Yeah.
It would be good. That would be like the X-Men when they did when you got Whiplash and that lot, and the Russian super soldier from Black Widow.
Mhm.
You know, that sort of arena. That'll be good. That'll be good to see. You know, the science behind it and the series behind it. The gods of science, science fiction's put here. We're going to get the Thunderbolts. Yes, I did hear we're getting Thunderbolts. Thunderbolt Ross being Red Hulk.
Yeah,
but again, I don't know. Harrison Ford's been tagged as Thunderbolt Ross now, hasn't he? Because Thingy died.
But I don't think he'll be able to pack a punch again. No offense, but I don't. In that film, it really did look, in the newest Indiana Jones film, it really did look like when he hit the person that he really did hurt his arm.
But again, this goes back to where the new Avengers, the Thunderbolts, the X-Men, all these new factions coming back into Marvel.
Yeah.
Are we looking now at, again, A- list characters, or are we looking at C, D, and E list characters now coming into mainstream A list?
See, the thing for me is that when I'm sat here and thinking, I'd rather see like some of the older Marvel characters come back than I would see any of the new ones come out. It says something, doesn't it?
See, I would love to see us getting a Teen Titans movie or a new Justice League movie with an older Batman being the statesman sort of guardian for like a Nightwing and a Robin and a Kid Flash. Then seeing him reboot Batman to being who he is. So give us like an older an older Michael Keaton or Ben Affleck or someone like that. An established Batman. Don't bring Kevin Costner in to play Batman. Bring an established Batman in to babysit the younger generation of superhero.
Yeah.
You mentioned Kevin Conroy. Do you want to know? Do you want to know what they're doing?
Well, it'll be hard to do anything with Kevin Conroy now he's passed.
They still have 2 unreleased Kevin Conroy things that he did, and they're going to, whenever they want to, release them. But there's 2 things he did before he died. Just like with Chadwick Boseman. Remember how Marvel held on and they released the What If with Chadwick Boseman? What was it? A year after he had died?
Well, I know Conroy was like a voice actor and stuff like that, and there was a couple of episodes where he did actually play Bruce Wayne in person and stuff like that. So they did bring him through for that. But I don't know if I would be comfortable with them voice sampling him. It's like if Peter Cullen had died. I don't know if I wanted them to voice sample him for Prime for the next 50 years. You know, I don't know if I'd be comfortable with that.
Well, the 2 things he did were finished. They're just holding on to them.
Yeah. But what I'm saying, though, is that if we got a live-action Justice League movie and give us Wonder Girl, Nightwing, a Robin, a Kid Flash, Artemis instead of Arrow, you know, give us people like that with an older statesman, Bruce Wayne, looking after them, sort of training them, mentoring them, and then every now and then you could just drip feed like the Flash into it, couldn't you? For like a bit, just so we can sort of just. He's still around, but he's not part of the team. You know, you
I know what you mean.
have him on the telly or something like that, and
on the telly,
yeah. You know, and they're watching it and going, you know what? I wish I could do something like that. And something falls apart and kills all of that lot, or a Young Justice movie. There you go. I love that TV series, Young Justice. I thought that was brilliant. But give us something like that live action.
Yeah.
What I would like to see is them give us live action versions of like Power Girl and add the Stargirl to the Justice League. Like, give us new characters. They have a huge amount of characters we haven't seen on screen that they have in the comics, right?
Did Stargirl meet any of the other CW characters? She wasn't in any of the crossovers, was she?
I don't believe so, but if that's the case, then make that Clark Kent's cousin,
Kara.
Yeah, make her part of it. She's been in the crossover events, right?
Yeah.
She even crossed over into the Flash universe.
Yeah,
so I say, bring us back.
She was in 3. She was in the 3 crossover episodes, wasn't she?
Yeah.
And then she was in a couple of Flash episodes, outwit for the crossovers, and Flash went into hers.
I would say for them to be successful in giving us another DC film, bring back and actually bring back the TV show version of the Flash, the one that fans love.
Yeah.
And bring back Supergirl and give us characters the fans actually like.
Well, was it Melissa Benoist who played Supergirl? She said she would come back and do a film, but they've just cast the girl from House of Dragons, haven't they? The young one from House of Dragons from the first couple of episodes. She's now been cast as Supergirl. What was her name? The one that played the blonde woman, the blonde one in House of Dragons.
I know
She doesn't look like she could take a punch.
But that's the whole law of Supergirl, though, isn't it?
Oh.
She's not meant to look like she can take a punch.
Well, she did in the TV show.
Millie Alcock, it is. She's now the new Supergirl.
Did you on a side note? Did you? I noticed a post earlier on that they've come up with the name for Beetlejuice 2. They've got a date on there of when it's coming out, but it says it's going to be called Beetlejuice.
Have you seen the trailer?
I haven't seen the trailer. I don't think. No.
The first trailer dropped this week, didn't it?
Did it?
I'm sure it did.
I've watched a few trailers yesterday. I didn't see that one. Have a look. But yeah.
Speaking of Beetlejuice,
maybe it did, yeah.
4 days ago it dropped. Yeah. Sorry, Monkey. Go on. What were you saying, sir?
Speaking of Beetlejuice, it has Jenna Ortega in it. So here's what I'm thinking. You know how, yes, she's busy with, like, she left on her own, but technically the other one was fired. But if they could just give her a lot of money, they could bring her back and we could get a Scream 7 because the fans really thought that they were leading up to the sister, not Jenna Ortega, but the other sister to be the villain in Scream 7.
Do we need another Scream film? It's, you know, are we at risk of having another Fast and the Furious sort of on our hands here, where there's only so many times that the same people can have serial killers fall on them that are related to everybody else that they've either killed or be killed by. There's only so much bad luck in a town that can have.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Well, look at how many.
They're not in the same town anymore. They've fucked off to New York or wherever, aren't they?
Yeah, but you're still only sleeping with your same cousin, second cousin who killed you the first time round. You know, there's always
sleeping with your cousins is the.
Yeah, there's only so many family ties to the psychopath that you killed 3 movies before can come back and haunt you.
But they could turn it differently. After they finish that storyline, they could bring it to the cult of Ghostface, where they end on one character and they could start on somebody else.
That's worse than you can have 15 Ghostfaces who had nothing to do with anything and they're all copycats. That's like bringing the copycat Riddlers at the end of the Batman, isn't it? That whole 30-minute scene at the sports arena didn't need to happen. And you know, you've got 20 new Scream movies there with 20 different ghost faces because they're all part of the psychotic cult. He's thinking. I can see him thinking.
Well, I will say this: if I'd see every one of them, but if the fans don't want it, then that's okay. If they want it to die, they all should just tell it. They should tell them, we want that. We want. I mean, the fans have petitioned for tons of stuff. They even petitioned for, like, but so if they want it to stop, all the fans should come out and say that. But here's an example. When Pretty Little Liars stopped, I thought that was the end of it. But then they brought them back. And I thought that story was done. I was done with it. Yeah. and we didn't need more. So I'm saying it would be interesting. All I will say is this: until Marvel and DC gets their act together, I'd say I'm okay with watching more of those films, because if you look at the slate of films we got or we're getting, try to count how many Marvel films we're getting this year or even next year.
I think your problem with your DCs, and this will be the last point before we close it up, because like you said,
Okay.
we come to 9 o'clock and I turn into a pumpkin for awake much after 9 o'clock. The thing with the DC films was, for me, Marvel built theirs up over a decade or 6 years, 7 years before we got the first Avenger film, right? So we had time to get used to everybody. The first DC film we got was Batman versus Superman, where we got everybody was introduced all at the same time, and I quite like the sort of vessel that they used for that, with the video clips of Aquaman and Flash and Cyborg, so you knew they were coming. But then they never introduced us to Wonder Woman in the correct way. It was just like, shit, right? So we got Batman versus Superman, and here's Wonder Woman, and they actually poked fun of that when they turned around and said to Clark and Bruce both turned around, is she with you? No, I thought she was with you, and she just appeared,
Yeah.
And I think that was sort of the downfall for DC, because they tried to make up a decade's worth of ground in an hour and a half worth of movie.
That's true. Yeah.
And we never rescued that from there. And then the Justice League was just a shit show from start to finish, that film. And then they relied on the Snyder Cut, which wasn't a cut of a film. It was everything he ever filmed released on disc. So that's why it was like 6 hours long. And it made sense, because that was everything they ever put on film. It wasn't what he was planning on releasing as a director.
No.
And I think Rebel Moons fell foul of that as well, because Netflix day one said, "Don't worry, the director's cut of Rebel Moon after part 2 is going to fix all the issues. If you knew it was shit, why are you releasing it?" And that's the world we're in. And I think DC fell into that quite early on. Really did. We never, the Man of Steel film was absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed that film, Superman, Man of Steel.
Yeah, I do.
Are you interested in the new one, since they showed us who they cast as the new Superman?
I'll be interested to see how they've done it. And I'm also interested in the fact it's not going to be a origin story. We know who Superman is, and we know it's early doors for Superman. It's not an origin story, which is great. We don't need to reboot him every couple of years. Which I thought Man of Steel was brilliant in dealing with as well, because it wasn't really an origin story.
That's one thing I really did enjoy about the Batman, is they didn't show us the backstory. They just showed us Bruce Wayne right now.
Yeah, he's a year into being Batman. Yeah.
Well, but you gotta turn it into a pumpkin, and I gotta get off my butt. So I bid thee farewell for now.
Goodbye, my friend.
Buddy. There we go. It's always a pleasure to have him on. It's good chatting to him. Ladies and gents, we do put the link in the chat, so if you do feel like joining us, please do what Monkey did and click on the link and come in have a chat. And it's always good to talk to you. On that note, Stevie, I think I'm going to call it a day, sir.
Yeah, no worries.
I've got a busy day tomorrow. I'm having my eyes poked and prodded and tested. So
Steve's going Clark Kent next week.
Next week, yeah. You won't recognise me. Lana says my hair's grown dead quick over the last 2 days, so I'm going to have to shave my head as well, or I will look like a completely different person. I'm not on the show next week.
Son.
What?
Nothing.
I'm not on the show next week, mate. Don't forget, 'cause I'm
What?
on holiday. I'm on holiday.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
So it's you by yourself.
I'll have the backing of the chat. I'm sure I'll be okay.
You will. The videos always do better when it's just you. I've said this to you as well. You can look at the viewing stats. They must feel sorry for you.
They do generally. I think that's generally what it is.
Yeah, I think they forget that you're the care in the community aspect of the show.
You cheeky bastard.
Well, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Guys.
And we'll see you soon. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.